My name is Brian Andersen. I've been with Africa Fire Mission for a few years now. I started in 2019 with them, so I've met several of you guys. Um, I went to Kenya in 2019. I did the virtual symposium in 2020. I've done a lot of these Wednesday trainings, right? So this week's going to be a little bit different because we have a team in Kenya. So I'm going to be doing the computer work side of it. I'm going to be the fire safety advocate because Jose's not going to be here today, and I'm going to be the instructor. Okay, so I'm just kind of going over everything at once. Um, so we'll restart. I'll open with a word of prayer and a word of encouragement. So if you'd like to pray, go ahead and pray with me. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today, Lord, to thank you for our blessings. Thank you for allowing us to be firefighters. Um, we know this is a tough job, Lord. But you give us the strength to persevere and push through. Open our minds today, Lord, so we can learn the material and take this material back to our fire stations and better the lives of our communities and save some lives also. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So, um, let's see. So, we have a tough job, right? I've been doing this for 19 years. I've seen a lot of things similar to what you guys have seen. Some of it's pretty tough, and I don't have to worry about people throwing stones at me or anything like that. In the United States, um, we're we're respected, um, and we don't have a lot of the challenges you guys face in Africa. Um, I'm very fortunate for that. You guys have an uphill battle. But I want to encourage you that I have trained with firefighters from almost every continent, maybe even every continent. I've trained with firefighters in Antarctica. Uh, I don't know, maybe Asia. I don't remember if I've trained with Asian firefighters. Anyways, everyone has the same heart, right? No matter where you go in the world, a firefighter is a firefighter in the hearts. They want to be here for their communities. They want to be here to save lives and do what they can do to better their communities. So I just want to encourage you to keep up the good work. You're doing good, even though sometimes people won't thank you for it. Okay. So I'm gonna. I'd like to thank you guys for attending this weekly session. Or we're very happy to provide these training sessions to you guys. It's the least we can do. We learn from it as well as you guys, right? That's the best part about it all. The training is free of charge, and it includes a certificate. So for anyone here that's if you attend 70% of the class, you'll get a certificate. Usually that certificate takes like 45 minutes or so to show up. Um, this time it's going to take a couple weeks though, because we have a team in Kenya, and that team in Kenya, they're the ones that are going to push through those certificates, so they won't be able to do it till they get back to these states. Okay, so you will get a certificate for this week, but you will not get it for a couple weeks. Today's topic is going to be about pre-incident planning. I've taught this topic before, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Actually, during the 2020 symposium, I taught this topic with our friend Howard, Chief Howard, and we want to reinforce how important it is to get out into your communities and do these pre-incident plans. Excuse me. Afterwards, there will be a tea time. I won't be able to stick around. So we'll see. But there'll be a little bit of top time for questions at the end. I'm gonna have to try to go quick since we're already a long ways through it. So yeah, let me go ahead and start the training here. Okay, once again, we're going to talk about pre-incident planning. This is a very important topic, but we don't do it enough because it's not the exciting, it's not adrenaline pumping type stuff of firefighting, right? So we need to maintain it. Charleston, South Carolina, in 2007, they lost 9 firefighters. This happened in a furniture store that on fire. Part of the reason why they lost these 9 firefighters is because they didn't have a proper pre-incident plan done. Pre-incident planning can prevent calls, and when the calls happen, they're going to be less severe. Okay. Um, there was water issues at this fire. One of the very large cities in the United States is Charleston, South Carolina, and they had water issues where they didn't have enough water to properly put out this fire. That sounds familiar for all of you guys, right? Um, you guys are always struggling to find enough water. I'm from North Dakota, in a very rural area of North Dakota. We struggle to find water too sometimes. One way to determine if you're going to have enough water is to do a pre-incident plan. Figure this out before the the pager goes off, before you get that fire call. Figure out simple things like, where am I going to get the water from? How much water am I going to need? Okay. Charleston's very open about this fire. They want everyone to learn about what happened, so no more firefighters are killed in the line of duty. So I'd encourage you to go back and read and just uh, learn what you can learn about this fire. We think about it as like a major city in the U.S. with proper equipment, and it doesn't pertain to us, right? Because in Africa we don't have the equipment Charleston has. We don't have the manpower Charleston have, whatever. But there's still a lot of lessons that can be transferred over to your operations and in my operations. I'm a small town firefighter. There's a lot of lessons here that I can learn even. This fire started because of smoking. Someone was smoking next to trash, threw their cigarette down. You know, after a while, that cigarette kind of smolder, and then it caught that trash on fire. Started on the outside of the building and went into the inside of the building. Well, guess what? If you did a pre-incident plan of this fire, you not only would you have identified what water source you're going to use, you would have identified how many fire trucks you need, how many firefighters you need. You probably would have saw someone smoking there, and you would have been able to be like, "Hey, it's not really safe to smoke here because it's next to trash and that's combustible. Why don't you go to this side of the building and smoke instead?" And he would have prevented that fire and saved those 9 firefighters just by teaching your community basic fire prevention. Okay. So pre-incident planning, pre-incident survey. Some people call it different things. It is a process of gathering information. So when you're going out to these businesses, you're just gathering data, right? What does the business do? How do they function? What are some points of contacts? What's the manager's number? Um, or someone that has a key to the building, what's their phone number? You know, by gathering this data, you're going to start realizing weaknesses within your department. You're going to realize that if this business catches on fire, we're only going to send one engine to it, and we should be sending 2 or 3 engines to this fire immediately out of the gate. Okay? Or whatever the case might be. So you're going to start developing your SOPs and SOGs based on this data that you're collecting. So you'll have a SOP saying, if we have a fire in this business district, we need to send an engine, and we also need to send a ladder truck too. But we have to remember that this is an ongoing cyclical process. You know, it's a process that we don't go to a business, do the inspection, and then leave and never go back. These businesses are changing. They're remodeling. They're changing the layout of the building, the footprint of the building, right? So we need to go back. And every time we go back is a time where we can impact our public in a positive way. You know, we can go back and we can be advocating for firefighting and the needs of the fire service. You know, you can go back and be like, hey, if you guys don't park here, we can get our fire trucks closer to the building and put the fire out quicker. Stuff like that. So it's an ongoing process where we're meeting these business owners. We're talking to them about how they can keep their business safe because they don't want their business to burn down. That's how they make their money, right? And then maybe a year or 2 later, we go back to that same business owner and we ask, hey, has anything changed? Do you have the same phone number? And we put all this data into a book or however you store it, right? And then we put that book into the fire engine. And then when we have a fire there, we open it up. That is our weak spot of pre-incident planning. We need to take that data and put it in a book or some method that can be used on a fire call. But we need to be able to pull that data and train on it prior to a fire call. You know, if you got a cold, rainy day where you don't want to go out inside and train, you pull that book out and you start looking at businesses. You look at this grocery store, you know, grocery store A. If that caught on fire, we're going to send one fire engine over there. We're going to park that fire engine here. This is the water source we're going to use for that fire. These are all the exit points that the civilians can escape. You know, we're going to be training on these. It makes great company level training. It's extremely easy. If you have inclement weather or something like that, pull one of these out. Go over it and review it. But I want to caution you that pre-incident planning is different than fire code enforcement, and they should not be combined. The reason why is you want to go out there and do a pre-incident plan. You want to talk to the business owners. You want them to be open and honest with you. You know, you want to build that relationship. And that's a lot about firefighting is building relationships that's going to serve you in the future, right? And it's going to be a mutual relationship where they're going to serve you and you're going to serve them. There's been several fires where our grocery store owner brings us food out to the fire because they know that, hey, this fire started early in the morning. You guys missed breakfast, so here's some food. There's things like that where you're building these relationships, and if you start enforcing fire codes, you're gonna impact that relationship. Having said that, If you see something they can change to make their business safer, go ahead and tell them about it, right? We don't want a major fire hazard and then just leave it. If they're welding next to a whole bunch of cardboard, say, hey, why don't you move this cardboard over here, and that way the sparks don't catch on fire. Simple stuff like that. So, knowledge is very powerful during emergencies. But that knowledge is prior to the emergency. All of you that have taken the time today to come to this training and get the knowledge, you're doing that to your emergency response, right? You're doing that to better your community. So we need to go out to the community and get this knowledge. It works. It's great. Like, even if you're just driving around a neighborhood and start pointing out where fire hydrants are, right? Just drive around and be like, hey, there's a fire hydrant here, there's a fire hydrant here, or you can start pointing out roads that are too small for your fire trucks to get down. That's pre-incident planning, even though you're not getting out of the truck even. You're just doing a simple drive with your fire truck, maybe as you're doing driver training or something. You should always be getting knowledge. No matter what level you are in the fire service, you should always be getting knowledge. Pre-incident planning isn't all hazard assessment. Focus on potential hazards like hazardous materials, occupant load, electrical systems, void spaces that allow for fire spread. You're looking at every possible hazard there is. Because your guys are going to be the ones responding to it when it happens, right? So we want to figure it out before. If they're storing highly flammable solvents or something, we need to know about that before we send our guys into that building. If their electrical system is unsafe, we need to know about that. If they're a really big occupant load, we need to know about that too. The Station nightclub fire in Rhode Island, they had 300 people in that building, and 100 of them died because of that fire. And that wasn't even that long ago. That was in modern times. It wasn't like way back before the age of fire trucks or anything. That it was just a large occupant load in a building, and the fire department wasn't prepared. The building owner wasn't prepared to have a fire. And of course, void spaces, that's how fire is going to spread. We've had a lot of classes about that. So as you're gathering this data, we need to also be comparing the data we have with our SOPs and SOGs. I've already mentioned this, right? Because we're going to be able to determine. We're going to be able to determine where our deficiencies are. We don't, like I said, if we have a warehouse fire that's going to take 2 fire engines to put out, we need both fire engines going as soon as the fire starts. Otherwise, it's going to take 4 or 5 fire engines to put out. And we're going to determine our SOPs and our SOGs and figure out what is adequate and what needs to be revamped. Okay? It's all about this data collection. That's what this pre-incident planning is. It's just a large data collection. We're going to figure out equipment shortfalls also. If you're sending an engine to a fire that's not equipped to put out that large of a fire, you're going to realize that during a pre-incident plan. And where this is beneficial is then you can start advocating for your needs, right? When when you start going through the budgeting process and you say, hey, we need a new fire truck, guess what? They're going to ask you, why do you need a new fire truck? You know, if you have this data, you're going to be able to explain exactly why you need a new fire truck. When you're writing grants and asking for donations or whatever, you're gonna say, hey, we need more hoses on our fire trucks. And they're gonna say, well, why do you need more hoses on your fire trucks? And you can say, because we carry 100 feet of this hose, but this warehouse is 200 feet. You know, those are the types of things you're going to be realizing during this data collection process. And then you're going to be able to advocate for yourself and for your department to better your response. Like I said, this all goes back to bettering you as a person, bettering you as a firefighter, which in turn keeps your community safe and betters your community. You're also going to realize your trainings and your shortfalls, right? If you have a high-rise building, 10 to 12-story building or whatever, you're going to realize if your firefighters are in shape enough to walk up all those stairs, right? That I wouldn't be able to do that. I'm a little out of shape for that. So I'd realize, oh, I need to go work out. You're going to realize that, hey, we have no training on how to put out a high-rise fire. We should go figure out how to put out a high-rise fire. You can send a message to Africa Fire Mission and be like, hey, we need training on how to put out a high-rise fire or whatever the case might be, and we can help you with that, right? So you're going to figure out your equipment shortfalls. You're going to figure out your firefighter shortfalls. You're going to figure out the shortfalls in your procedures, all from this data collection that you're doing on a pre-incident survey. So what do you want to survey, right? That's the biggest question. Maybe not the biggest, but that's a really big question. Is you have 500 businesses, you can't survey all of them every year, right? Which ones do you do first? You're just starting this pre-incident survey. Which one do you want to start first? Start with the ones that are life safety, your high critical life safety stuff. Your hospitals, your nursing homes, the people in those type of buildings, they either can't rescue themselves in a fire or they're going to do it very slowly, right? Prisons and jails, those guys can't rescue themselves in a fire. Those are your high fire risk, where if there's a fire that breaks out there, you're going to have a high risk of fatalities. So hit those ones first. Think to yourself, in my area, where would people have a hard time escaping from a fire? Your schools, because children panic. They don't have the life experience to know how to react in emergency. So your schools, your hospitals, your jails, your nursing homes, those type of buildings should be your priority. And then after that, move to your property risk. What if I have a fire in my area? What's going to be the most likely thing to catch on fire? Where they're doing welding, where they're doing cutting, where they're torching things, high likelihood of a fire, right? If you have like a little business office that they're just doing paperwork, whether it be insurance or something like that, there's a low likelihood of a fire. You put those guys down at the bottom of the list. You put your schools and your hospitals up on top, and you prioritize which ones to do. Okay. So remember, this is a time to build community relations. And I know community relations in Africa is way different than it is in the United States. I'm not going to sit here and even start to pretend I can adequately tell you guys what to do, right? Um, but you have to start building community relations somewhere, and this is a great place to do it because, like I said, none of these business owners want to have a fire in their business. If they have a fire in their business, it's going to shut them down for a couple days at a minimum, or it might destroy their whole life savings, right? So this is a great way to start building the community relations, is going out there and getting hands-on with the business owners when there's not an emergency. Because when there's an emergency, they're going to be panicked, and it's too late at that point. We do this in my work. Okay, so I volunteer as a firefighter, and I'm a safety coordinator in the oil field full time. We call it go to the gemba, right? It means go to where the work is happening and figure out how to make them safe. You have to do this before there's an incident. Get out there and build your community relations by doing these pre-incident surveys. Show your appreciation often. When someone lets you into this business of theirs, you thank them and 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 you just keep thanking them, because it's going to save your life if this place catches on fire, right? Be very appreciative that they let you into that building. Make sure you do it at a convenient time for the occupancies. Don't just show up unannounced. Be very convenient, be very appreciative, work around their schedule. So make sure you promote a positive public image for your department when you do this. Your fire trucks need to be washed and shiny. Your firefighters need to be dressed up nice in their uniforms, right? There's not going to be cussing or swear words or anything like that happening. Always avoid confrontations. Don't discuss like hot button items, right? Don't start discussing the war in Ukraine. Don't discuss the war in Israel. You're talking about how to keep their business from catching on fire. Don't send code enforcement officers or anything. If you see something that's unsafe, talk to the business owner and make sure they can fix it there on the spot. Assist them in making their business safe. And dress to impress, clean your fire truck, stuff like that. This is how you start building those customer relations. And like I said, you start building those relationships. And then you realize that you have a shortcoming with your equipment. So you start asking for funding over here, right? Well, guess what? If this business owner here likes you, they can support you in your request to get more equipment or better equipment. If you're asking your town council or whatever for equipment, this business owner over here can go to that town council and be like, these people, they came to my business, they treated me with respect, they taught me about fire safety, they really need this fire truck to keep my business safe, to keep our town safe. So you start seeing we have all these pieces that will go together. We're improving our public relations. We're improving our SOPs. We're improving our firefighter training. We're promoting our need for equipment. All of these pieces are starting to go together just because we sent firefighters out into the public and made a positive impact, not during an emergency, just doing their job, not sitting around at the fire station. So it allows responders to familiarize themselves with building and life safety features. You're going to drive by buildings and you're going to be like, hey, this warehouse is full of hazardous materials and there's not a sprinkler system in it, right? You're going to start realizing those type of things. Excuse me. It allows firefighters to visualize and discuss how fire is likely to behave in their structure. Africa Fire Mission has hosted a whole bunch of classes about fire behavior, about building construction, right? Now you're allowed to use that training and put it all together. Like, if we have a fire in this building, this is where it's going to spread. And because it's going to spread like this, we're going to need another fire truck there right away. It identifies conditions that can be mitigated before an event. Like I said with the Charleston 9 fire, if those firefighters went and did a pre-incident survey, they probably would have seen someone smoking next to the dumpster. They could have stopped that habit right there. They could have been like, hey, this isn't safe. Could you go over there and smoke 15, 20 feet away? It's much safer. And when you put out your cigarette, throw it in a bucket of water, right? Something like that. And the information and training on a variety of topics like safety features, water supplies, SOPs, and SOGs. So this is going to open up your world to firefighting, because you'll be driving around the neighborhood looking at all the water sources during this pre-incident survey. And then you'll start figuring out, I wonder how much water I can actually get from that fire hydrant. So you start looking at how much water you can get from the fire hydrant. You start looking at what pump calculations you need in order to pump from that. And you start doing pump operator training. You do building construction training because there's an interesting building in your community. You want to figure out how to keep it safe. All the training that we have been providing you for years now can come into play with this survey. Everything from ground ladder placement, where can I put ground ladders? Where are the overhead power lines that I need to stay away from? All the simple training, search and rescue. If I have a fire here, where's the likelihood of a victim going to be? This is why we want to do it before the incident, because we can utilize all our training. We can take our time and think about it. And then when there is an incident, that incident's going to roll so smoothly and you're going to be able to save lives. So when you're conducting the plan, look at the exterior. The first thing you do is going to make contact with the occupant, get their information, that type of stuff. That way, if you have a call after hours, you know who to contact. When you're looking at the exterior of the building, you're looking for your water supply, your fire sprinkler hookups, overhead lines, stuff like that. I'll always look for utility shops, but with their permission, take pictures and put it in your file. It's very convenient. When you have that rainy day and you pull that file out to train on it, those pictures really, really help. Also on the exterior, look for if there's underground fuel tanks. What are the security issues? Is there going to be some sort of fencing or something that's going to slow you down from responding? Building coverings, what type of siding, that type of stuff. And what are the doors, windows, and fire escapes? Because as we're driving to this fire, there's going to be people leaving this building. their path is likely going to cross the path of our fire truck. So that's one thing to think about as we're thinking about apparatus placement, right? I've taught a class about that to you guys before. Where are we going to park these fire trucks? We need to be sure we're not running over people as we're pulling onto the scene. And if you can, get on the roof. What is it made of? Where are you going to place your ladders? Where are you going to place them, and where do you not place them? You know, it was the dead load of the roof. Is there air conditioning units on it? Stuff like that. Water towers. Some old buildings around here, they have a water tower on the roof of the building. That's a lot of weight. Floor plans. So now we're getting into the interior of the structure as we're looking around. Try to look for those void spots. Look for those vertical shafts. Don't just do a general layout of the building. Look for those places where fire is going to spread. Look for doors that can be closed to limit fire spread also. I'm trying to speed it up a little bit because I want to leave you guys some time here to ask questions at the end. Also, you look for your life safety concern. Number 5 is a really big one. Your handicap. You're going to have people in wheelchairs or whatever that might not be able to escape the building. Where are they going to be during your pre-incident planning? You should be able to figure out where those safe areas are for our handicapped individuals. Prioritize those right away. Send rescue crews to those areas to rescue any handicapped individual. That's something we really need to focus on during our pre-incident plan. Other potential hazards, obviously any chemical that could be hazardous, explosives, reactive materials, stuff like that. But we're also looking at the processes they do that can be dangerous. What kind of machinery they have. Some of this machinery, it really takes special training to shut it down safely. The last thing you want to do, if at all possible, is go in and shut down. There might be a special way to shut it down safely. You don't want to send your firefighters in to just go press buttons until it shuts off. Okay? So as we're doing our pre-incident survey, look for that type of stuff too. Maybe even document, hey, this machine, to shut it off, you have to do it at this location. This is a big one around my area. Our buildings are older. They've been remodeled several times. Sometimes they haven't been remodeled in the best shape. The remodel was done cheaply or whatever. So as we're doing our pre-incident survey, we're looking for what is the condition before the fire. I went to a house fire about a month ago, and we knew this house already had a weak floor in it before the fire. So we did not go to that fire. Everything we did, we knew what area the house was like off limits. So we didn't really go into those areas that had that weak floor, because we knew if we went in, we were going to fall through. We knew that because we have been there on medical calls. So as we were on a medical call, we made a mental note of that for our pre-incident surveys, right? Looking for heavy objects, things that are going to fall on us and entrap us, right? Look for building features that can confuse or trap firefighters. This happens a lot around here where the business owner might put up a random wall, and then that really makes it hard to drag our hoses around, stuff like that. Large open areas, that those are hard to search. Dead end corridors, uh, open that fits, a little vault or something. We're documenting underground shafts and tunnels or multi-floor arrangements, like like I said, we're documenting everything we could possibly think
Thank God.
during a
Yes,
pre-incident
given,
survey. It's pre-incident surveys about data collection, but we need to come back. We need to come back after we collect all this
thank
data
God. Yes,
and
given
start
us.
analyzing it so we can figure out how we're going to respond to a call. Look for masonry, original structure, and voids. The voids are a real big one for fire spread. So I went through that last section pretty fast. It's just a whole bunch of data to collect, right? And you're thinking about, if I have a call here, how am I going to keep myself safe? So the information gathered will aid in risk management. It will aid in fireground decisions, and it'll also aid in resource management. So, like I said, maybe your SOP is to send 3 fire trucks to this fire when realistically only 1 fire truck can put it out, and you have 2 other fire trucks that can respond to other calls, right? So it's all about resource management and making the right call before the fire happens. And like I said, this is an excellent company level drill. You can even get one of your new firefighters to lead this drill. And that's one of the best ways for them to learn. You pull that rookie firefighter and you say, hey, you're going to teach us about this building today. It instills so much pride in themselves, right? Because they're allowed to teach. And teaching is one of the best ways we learn. Just a quick, here's some principles from NFPA you can apply to help you with your pre-incident surveys. NFPA 903 and NFPA 1620. All our trainings are recorded and eventually get put on YouTube, so you can go back to this one and find. You can go back to this one and find these numbers again. Okay. One thing we want to do is have some sort of drawing. It can be hand drawn, or you can get on the computer and draw it. But it should be an overview of everything: building layout, the hydrants, the streets. You can mark on there where the are, so you don't put ladders there. And that's going to go into your written report. Your written report's going to be basic information like the address of the building, the date of the inspection, occupancy type, construction, all this stuff are already taught. We're going to start writing a report. Some more information on the report is the schedule of the property, the water supply, and the occupant load. So, excuse me, that's a whole bunch of data that we've collected, right? And I know I went through part of it kind of fast, but you can see how collecting this data and analyzing this data is going to help you in a lot of areas of your fire department. It's going to help you with your training. It's going to help you with the SOGs. It's going to help with resource management. It's going to help with acquiring equipment. But what else? What are we going to do with that data? We have to manage it, right? So to manage your data, we can put it in computers. Computers are okay because you can put them you can mount the computer in the fire trucks, and you can share the information with every fire truck, whatever. So that's okay. thing. It's kind of expensive to do it that way because you have to buy a computer for every fire truck. Pre-planned books, just a simple binder works great. Print off the pre-plan, throw it in a binder. That's a great way of doing it. And it's cheap and probably the most common because of how cheap it is. And just be sure, no matter which way you keep your documents, that you keep it up to date. You don't want to send a firefighter into a building thinking one thing and then realizing that they've been storing hazmat there for 2 years and you did not know about it, right? These businesses change over time, and we need to keep these things up to date to keep us safe. Knowledge is the power to keep us safe, right? We got to be knowledgeable. This is how we do it. Overall, this is going to keep us safe. It's going to increase our public opinion of us. It's going to make we have data. So when we get pushback, if we say we need a new fire truck and the city council says, no, you don't, we can prove to them why we need a new fire truck. We can figure out what training we need and we can go get that training. That's what all of this is about. So it's a lot of information in a short period of time. Let's see. I got about 5 more minutes until I have to tap out and go to my next meeting. If you guys have a quick question, go ahead and throw it in the chat or unmute yourself. Let's see. Okay. How many people have done a pre-incident plan before? Okay, what are SOGs and SOPs? Good question. Sometimes we use acronyms that other people don't know. An SOP and an SOG is a standard operating guideline or standard operating procedure. They're kind of interchangeable. It's whatever your department calls them, a guideline or a procedure. Procedures are usually more strict, where guidelines are gives the flexibility, right? I prefer guidelines. So if I say an SOG, it's a standard operating guideline. Why I use guidelines is because the firefighters in the field need to be able to modify that guideline a little bit based on the scenarios. So a pretty standard SOG would be for a structure fire, we send out one engine, one ladder truck, and one fire chief, right? That'd be a basic SOG. If you're doing a pre-incident inspection on a warehouse, you might realize you need one engine, one ladder truck, and one chief, but you probably need at least one more engine. So you'll be able to modify those SOGs based on your pre-incident plan. Or like I said, with the high-rise fire, maybe on a typical high-rise fire, they get a ladder truck and a chief. But after you do your pre-incident plan, you realize how many people you're going to need to put out a high-rise fire. So you get the ladder truck and chief and then two engines also, and you can change your standard operating guideline based on that data before the incident ever happens. So that's a really good question, Charles. I apologize. I have to wrap it up here. By all means, we have the Africa Fire Service Networking on Facebook. hop onto that, ask questions. I'm part of that, so I can answer them there, or your fellow colleagues can answer them also. Okay. Um, let me. Oh, I didn't print off the page I need to read. Oh, wait, here it is. So, thank you for everyone that participated in today's class. Like I said, if you participated in 70% of the class, we'll get you a certificate. I do apologize. It's not going to be as quick as normal. Okay. It is going to be delayed a little bit because we have our team on the ground in Kenya, and when we have our team, people are spread a little thin. But we'll get you that certificate. Just be patient with us. We ask that you complete online evaluation, so that we can improve our trainings. And if there's a training you want, throw it in that evaluation. Um, you'll be you'll be able. Well, like it says online evaluation, but I don't know where to go online to do the evaluation. So I apologize for that. You'll be able to use this same link for next week's training also. Um, I don't remember off the top of my head what next week's training is, but I think Ed's teaching it, so it's probably some sort of pump class because he likes to do things with fire pumps. So, good guy. Please invite other firefighters, right? This is a completely free class to get certificates and whatever. So go ahead and invite other firefighters to these trainings. We love to see this grow. We started these virtual trainings because of 2020 and the COVID-19 pandemic, and it just has really been a blessing. And really it has improved our organization, but it's also improved your responses. Like I said, we learned just as much from you guys, as you guys learned from us. So I appreciate everyone for coming. I'm sorry I cut it off here because I have to get to work now. But like I said when I started with the word of encouragement, we have a tough job, you know. But I don't know each and every one of you personally, but I know all of your hearts in the right spot. I know this because I have met hundreds, if not thousands, of firefighters across the world, and we all have the same heart of service. We all have the empathy, those type of qualities where we just want to do the best we can with what we have. So thank you for coming today because now you have more to put in your toolbox. I encourage you guys to take this and do some company level drills out of it. Get out into your communities today and tomorrow. This is something you can use right away. All you have to do is jump into a fire truck, drive to your local business, and be like, "Hey, my name's Brian. I want to schedule inspection, uh, a pre-incident survey. Can we come back next week and do a survey?" Just get out in your community and show pride in your job.